Seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is post-match pish for Celtic 2, Blackburn Rovers 2. It is my debut hosting post-match pish. And I've got to tell you folks, because you don't get to see behind the curtain, we had a hell of a lot of drama in the last 20 minutes, but we've made it. We have got here. We've done it. So Russell has got a nice earned day off. I'm taking over the hosting duties today, and I'm joined by a winning team all around me, as you can see. So I'll just go round the houses and say hello to everybody. So Terry, how you doing, mate?
Hey, Phil. I'm good.
Good stuff, my man. Mark Kearney, I saw you earlier on at the game. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Yourself, Phil?
Smashing, mate. I'm feeling better now that we're live and we're off skate, because that was a dramatic 20 minutes. And of course, we have got a man over in Canada who, I believe right now it is 8 a.m. in the morning. He has had a long night. It's been a late shift. I hope he's got lots of coffee in him. He's had a power nap. Liam Greenlaw, mate, how in the devil are you?
I'm good, Phil. Really good. 4:30 kick-off this morning, but I watched this one in the house, so it was good. Didn't have to battle through Gastown, Vancouver, so it was good.
But I fair play to you for doing it, man, because it is... you're used to it now anyway. You see, you would have been doing it anyway, but I would have felt quite rotten, because we've obviously had a few audio problems if you couldn't make it onto the show after staying up. But as you say, you're a pro of doing this now. But yeah, so welcome to everybody as well in the chat. And I'll just do all the mandatory stuff you've done. So remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to become a member, of course you can. That option is there. And do not forget, July 31st, the Bullfrog, Morrowell. Come and see the Boise Bus live. A good laugh, no doubt about it. But guys, we will go over today's game. Another friendly, Celtic's campaign, pre-season friendly. We're really motoring now, still undefeated as it goes. So today we had Celtic 2, Blackburn Rovers 2. So first things first, I want to talk about is we couldn't have really got off to a worse start, to put it lightly. I believe the official time was 24 seconds, maybe. We literally kicked off. I think McGregor gets dispossessed in the middle of the park. Blackburn, couple of quick plays, 1-2 in behind us. And yeah, they're a goal down. But one of the things, I'll come to you first, Terry, on this, that I really admire, and this isn't the first time we've seen this with in this pre-season, they don't get flustered, this Celtic team. Ange, of course, he's quite, I wouldn't say stubborn would be the word, but he's very much got a belief that this is going to work. keep doing it, don't panic. And yeah, we kept on chipping away, and before we knew we were 2-1 up at the break. But yeah, Terry, what did you make of the start overall and the comeback that we had after, as I say, couldn't have got any worse, could it?
Yeah, I know yourself and Mark were at the game, Phil, so you don't benefit from the replays or anything like that. But as you say, around about the 22nd mark, I think O'Reilly sort of gave McGregor not the best of balls, and it kind of moved from there, went through the defence rather easily. And as you say, after 20 minutes, we're behind. We did talk about this on the bus the other night, around going behind, that resilience, that bounce back ability. We did it a few times last season. We did it in the Hibs game in the cup final. We did it at Ibrox when we came back from an early Aaron Ramsey goal. I think this is it's something that this team has got. It's part of our makeup now, is that we have that bounce back ability. Thinking to something else that's going on in Scotland this weekend as a kind of analogy, you've got the golf. When Tiger was in his pomp, the word bounce back ability was almost added to the dictionary, because when Tiger dropped the shot, you could almost guarantee the next hole he was going to birdie and get it back again.
Yeah.
And I think that as a fan watching the game now, if we go behind, you're not starting to panic maybe in the way that you would have done. And it's a great trait to have. I suppose the concerning aspect would be that's the last couple of games we've dropped a goal very, very early on. Even today, start of the second half, we conceded a very good opportunity within 30 seconds in the second half.
Yeah.
On another day, you might have seen Mr. Clancy point to the spot if it was a Premier League game or something. There was an opportunity for him there, but I'm not too bothered about these mistakes. There's been mistakes probably in the last 3 games. We haven't started the games great. It's taken us about 10 minutes to get in, but I'd much rather we do this in these games than once we start the real action against Aberdeen.
Oh, definitely. Now, Mark, one of the things that I've noticed in these last few friendlies that we've been playing is, with the exception of the very first one against Vina Victoria, I believe they're called, the Rapid Vienna game and the Bannica Strava game, and today I don't feel we played at a really friendly pace. I thought Blackburn today were a little heavy-handed in some of the tackles and that, but I think in the long run, that's what you kind of need. I think that'll benefit the players. You don't want it to be a walk in the park like the first friendly we played. But yeah, I felt today was another one, wasn't really played. It was played at a good pace. What was your making of it, Mark?
Yeah, I thought the first half in particular was pretty fast. I think the players, I agree with you, we need some sort of momentum to get into the first league games of the season rather than tippy-tappy friendlies against poor opposition. So I think today's opposition was pretty good. Probably a step up from the previous games we've had. And I think it told in certain periods of the match. I think there was periods of the match where they were getting the ball down at midfield. Our midfield was disappearing. As the game was going on, we just looked invisible in midfield, and that was my concern. I thought the squad on paper looks good, but the reality of it is when we come up against better teams and we haven't got our proper first 11 out, the cracks begin to appear. And I think today's match was played at a very frantic pace at spells, not the full match. I think the referee's performance was pretty poor. I think our players deserved a bit more protection than what they were getting. I mean, just because it's a friendly match doesn't mean the players play with chocolate-covered rainbow drops on their studs. They're playing with metal studs, mate, and your leg can still be broken with a bad foul, whether it's a friendly match or not. And I thought Clancy just played the exact same way he would play an SPFL match. In fact, I might be wrong here. I think I've seen 4 bookings in this match, and you don't normally get that in these type of games. So that just tells you how far the Blackburn players were going over the mark.
Mark, do you think that's something we've seen now for? I thought it started to creep in last year, because some of the pre-season friendlies were there was. If you think back to the game where Karamogo, we basically lost that kid for the whole season because of a robust challenge. And if you then think back over last season, it was nearly every week where you could pick a tackle that was OTT. It wasn't, and they were getting away with these. There were really horrendous tackles on Celtic players that weren't getting punished in the way that they should be. And these last 3 games have been sort of carried on that trend. It's been a bit roughhouse, and I suppose we've talked about maybe at times around this enforcer that we'd like to bring in, and I'm just thinking, are we maybe missing that kind of influence? I'm thinking back to Celtic players of sort of recent past, Scott Brown, Neil Lennon, somebody who would pick up on that. So there was a bad tackle today on Abada where I think the left back just said, I'm just going to empty him here. And Lenny or Scott Brown would just have been, they'd be letting that guy know they've seen it. And the next time he got the ball, there'd be a challenge going into him just for somebody to let them know, you know what, you're not going to kick the young lads. You're not going to kick us off the park here, you know.
Totally agree, mate. I think that comes from, I totally agree with you, mate. And I think that comes from the way we play football. I don't think it's an accident that these type of things have been happening to Celtic more often now since Angie's been here. We play at a fast tempo. We're in people's faces. I think technically we're more often than not superior to the opposition. And I think what happens is teams need to use every dirty tactic in the book. And rightly or wrongly, well, wrongly for me, these teams tend to use their studs rather than their brains. You know what I mean? And it was quite telling today from almost the first whistle that Blackburn were up here to kick a few of your players up in the arse. And I think a wee grab of the jersey from a Scott Brown, for talk's sake, might have calmed them down a wee bit. I think eventually when our flair players got into the game, Jota in particular was outstanding. I think they realised that kicking guys wasn't going to be the answer to their game today. And
what was it like in the stadium when Jota stayed down after the goal? Because
it was the goal scored, then it was almost like everybody just stopped cheering instantly. It was like, okay, big picture's just a rose here. This guy could be out injured. It was like almost like opening a Christmas present and getting excited, and opening it up and finding out it's a selection box.
on the TV, it felt like that game against Aberdeen when Joe Hart went down, and the whole place just was like, "What do we do if he doesn't get up here?"
Well, I'll come to Liam, and that's why I've kept John Duncan's comment up about are we still a couple of signings late? I think. Now, granted, I'll take on board that we will never be in a situation where we're going to make 11 substitutions in a competitive game, but I think it really brought home some truths today when we had made most of the changes and we just didn't look that threatening. There was a spell where we were controlling the game and dominating it, but it did look like some of it was shining through that. We were still light in some areas. So Liam, what did you make of the game, and is there any areas in particular that you homed in on that we definitely need to improve on?
I agree with Mark and Terry and that, and I think as well. I think they're after we let that first goal in, we ended up controlling that game, and I thought the only way that they realised that they had to start fouling us and getting their body in the way. I noticed Kyogo got pulled in with one of his movements where he was running in behind and it was off the ball, and I remember seeing a lot of that go early last year as well. Whereas Kyogo was making these runs and defenders didn't know what to do with him. And so they were just walking in and blocking his movement off the ball. And the wee man hit the ground and we were getting nothing. And that makes it look like he's a diver or, and something like that, which I clearly think he isn't. I think as far as players go right now, I think there was a big dip there in the second half. And I didn't read the team sheet before the game. And so I was thinking, okay, well, second half coming on, big chaos is going to come out and batter a few of them about and see what happens there, And then when he didn't come on, and it was Maeda, despite the discussion we had last, in the last post-match pitch, we were talking about, I think we'll be fine with just the two. I'm starting to think, okay, maybe we need that third striker, because the Jota was nowhere to be seen. I don't know if he's injured or he's just completely out of the picture. But Maeda, I don't think he didn't have the same.
He's not a striker, Liam, is he?
He's not
a striker, is he? I don't think he's a striker, is he, Liam? I think he's a winger. Although, I mean, the big number 4 for Blackburn, he'll sleep the night, because what a shift he must have put in. Because me and Dale were sitting next to each other in the second half, and we watched him, and we both said that, wow, that he is just running from A to B, and the big guy, the big centre half, is just spinning around in circles, more off the ball. Certainly the camera doesn't pick up, but I was looking at him and I thought he's just such a pest, and I think if he had Kyogo's ability, he'd be worth 100 million, that boy.
Mark, he top scored in that league after Kyogo
know.
left, and
I know.
I was expecting him to come in and be an absolutely deadly finisher, but he seems a wee bit wild in front of goal. You know, you've seen a few times where he's one-on-one in front with the goalkeeper. He's absolutely slashing it, or he's trying too hard. I was expecting him to come in and be a sort of natural finisher, given that he finished. He top scored in that league. He scored just short of 30, and I'm thinking, I expect him to come in here and be a really cool, calm, calculated sort of finisher, but he slashes quite a bit for me.
I think he's like a kid at a birthday party kicking a balloon after a can of Red Bull. You know what I mean? And it's no offense to the guy, because the guy's work rate, and he has got a degree of ability, and I can't fault the guy because he can be in two places at one time. I wish I could do that when I need to go to work, but he just seems to be lacking that. I don't know what it is. Because you said he was top goal scorer in a very difficult league, probably not too much dissimilar style to the Scottish Premier League, or at least quality wise, you know. So I don't know how he did it, because I've seen a few of his goals and they were tidy finishes, but almost the teams he played for, if the team he played for was a counter attack team, I think they were under the cosh quite a lot. So maybe he is a bit like a breakaway striker, and he just loves the open space. But in Scotland, he just seems to just fling his legs about like he's.
I know Brown Warriors come in there and said he scored them mostly from the left, but he did still score 25 plus, and he just doesn't look like a natural finisher.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's weird because obviously we got Kyogo, who was excellent when he came in, second top scorer in Japan. So you think, well, this guy finished ahead of Kyogo. He must be on that level or better. And there are times with Maeda where you're just like, what was that? But yeah, he's definitely better out wide, without a doubt. Because the same through the middle today, when we ended the game with Johnston, Forrest, and Maeda through the middle, the threat was just completely gone. Everything's gone. But we'll concentrate on one of the good performances because his names came up already. I think we need to talk about Jota today. So I'm guilty of it as well. Last season, when there was that whole debate about, Jota, Carter Vickers, they're both on loan, if we had to pick one, which one were we picking? When I was weighing that up, it was around about the time where there was a wee bit of dippiness for him, because there was a lot of questions of, is he being tapped up by another club? Where's his head right now? And I think one of the things that I'd said at the time was I would have opted for Carter Vickers out of the two at that point, but I felt Jota's dip was maybe down to, he just needed to feel loved, essentially, just have his future sewn up. And I feel now that when you saw his performance today and how buoyant he was, the skills and that, he obviously scored the first goal, but in the second half, he had that moment where he flicked it up over the defender's head and brought it back down. It was just a phenomenal one. Just got you off your seat. The type of player that we talk about with the Celtic way, as it's called, the wee Neil Lennon abbreviation there, where it's the Celtic way, a gallus winger, does something skillful. It doesn't get you off your seat. It was an absolutely phenomenal moment. But yeah, how crucial though, Terry, is it going to be like going forward? Now, the Jota, the deal secured. He now knows where his future lies for the next few years. There's no more worry about maybe he's going off on loan again or anything. It just shows you what Jota, he's really plugged into it all, essentially, just how vital he's going to be over this season going forward, mate.
I'll probably wind back, Phil, to the period where he just came back from his injury, and it probably took him, say, maybe 4 or 5 games just to get back into the swing of things again. But you did have fans talking about, he's checked out, he's been back through his injury, he's been with his old club, and he's gone back and all this kind of thing. Whereas I thought, give the guy a chance. He's been out injured, he's just come back, he's finding his way in again, and towards the end of the season, we started to see the Jota that we've seen at the start of the season. And although he kept us waiting over the summer with his various jaunts around the planet on holiday, it all kind of just looks now as if, do you know what? Yeah, he was never going anywhere else. And that moment today, I know that yourself and Mark were at the game. You may not have seen the replays. I know Russell put a link to that piece of skill. If you get a chance to look at it later, I would do so. I think you're going to have no choice. I think it's going to be shared across all of social media.
Is that Moravcik's moment, Terry?
Moravcik with the bomb trap.
Is that his moment?
I don't know, because Moravcik could have trapped that with his foot. He chose to trap it with his bomb. If you look at it, Jota, Jota beat his man. He took the ball down and he passed it to teammates. So it wasn't just a showboat exercise. He kept the play moving. But if you get a chance to look at it, I've seen players do that skill where the ball's off the ground and they flip it up. But this ball was actually on the ground and he's flipped it up over the guy's head and he's caught it the other side. So you go out tomorrow morning when you've had a few pints tonight and you try to flip the ball up that height off the ground. It was an amazing piece of skill.
Flip the ball.
The player that springs to mind of who would probably have done something like that is maybe like a Ronaldinho or something. It was absolutely amazing. What it tells me, though, going back to your question, Phil, it tells me this guy's in a happy place. This guy is in a place where he feels he can express himself. That could have went wrong. Do you know what I mean? He could have fell over himself, fell in his arse, and looked like a tit. He felt he was in a comfortable environment. I'm at a place where I'm loved. I'm loved by the manager. I'm loved by my teammates. I'm loved by the crowd. I can express myself here, and thankfully for him, it came off. But what the main thing for me is that tells me about the mindset of the player. He just feels so comfortable in this environment. If you think back over the pre-season weeks where he was videoed with a Celtic top on, and for whatever reason, this guy's fallen in love with Celtic Football Club. He's fallen in love with the manager. He's fallen in love with the crowd. He's fallen in love with his teammates. And he probably hasn't fallen in love with the weather, but just that one action, the fact that he felt comfortable enough to do that tells me that this guy's in a really, really good space. And I said it the other night. Our first 11 that'll start against Aberdeen quite possibly won't be. There won't be any new players in there from last season.
I said that, mate, as well.
Taylor,
a long time
I think
ago.
Taylor will start left back. I think we have to give the new left back an opportunity to settle in. But what I do expect to see is a different Jota because he's now at a place that he feels loved. I expect to see a better Carter Vickers if that's possible, because he's just gone from club to club for the last 7 years. This is the first time where he's sort of played 2 seasons in the same place. I expect to see a better Abada because the kid's come in here at 19 and he's ripped it up and he's now a year wiser, a year more mature. And I sometimes look at some of the projects that we bring in, and we bring in lads round about that 18, 19, and they're one for the B team and they're one for the future. That lad's come from a completely different country, a completely different culture. He's come at 19 and he's first team ready. He's gone in there and he's lit it up in his first season, and he'll go up another notch as well. I think it's a very, very exciting time to be a Celtic supporter when you look at some of these players. Just the product that we're getting served up as supporters. I think the word I would use is value. What you're paying for your games and what you're paying to watch these players. It's enjoyable to watch Celtic. And it's a good time to be a fan. You're looking forward to the games. You're getting entertained. There's a good product on the pitch. There's a winning product on the pitch, and it's all good. I just can't wait for the real stuff to start.
Liam, I'll throw over to you in this one because Terry used the term "a happy place." Obviously, Jota definitely looks like he's in his happy place, but we'll talk on some people who might not be in the happy place. Maybe the polar opposite of that, because when you say this name quietly around here, Christopher Jullien. Okay, so Christopher Jullien came on in the second half after, obviously I saw it in the stadium and Mark would have seen it as well. Came on as a sub, but they were going out for the warm-up and stuff like that. Very nonchalant, very, it just didn't look like he was that bothered, just doing his stretches at the sides. All the other players are quite eager, running down the touchline to go and do their stretches and warm up, and he's just jogging at the back. He comes on within, 30 seconds or something of being on the park, gives away a really lazy free kick, which Blackburn actually equalised off of. Funny enough, it wasn't too dissimilar to what David Tumble did in the first half. A nice low free kick, although Tumbles was under the wall, channeled his inner Alan Thompson there at Anfield. But yeah, Blackburn equalised late on with the free kick. But yeah, Christopher Jullien. So we've also got this league game coming up against Aberdeen on the 31st of July. The talk is that it looks like Starfelt probably won't make it for the first couple of games. What did you think of Welsh's performance today when Jullien came on, as I say, didn't really look that into it? So if you're in the manager's position on that day, Liam, do you give the nod to Welsh or Jullien? Does he get a reprieve somehow, or even does Boston Lawwell even get a start? Because he made an appearance as well. So where's your thinking on that one?
I thought Boston Lawa was all over the place today as well. He's not looked too clever. Somebody posted some highlights of him running a bit in the last game and where he was, his positioning at goals and that, and he didn't look like he was interested. Jullien, to me, I don't know. I don't think. I thought maybe he'd turned around. I thought maybe he wanted to. He's seen what was going on with the team and that maybe excited him. But then I seen him today, and it just looks like a guy that's not his team. He's no part of that team. He sat out a lot of that, and and I think he's struggling to find his identity in that team as well. He was a Superman with the chest open and all that. He's not that. He's not anywhere near that now, and and I think that must play on a player's psyche as well. And I think he's just hoping his agents can get him a move and that. Which brings me up to Welsh. I thought Welsh played well in certain aspects of his game. There's still a bad habit he has of getting on the wrong side of guys, and the guys turn him very easily. He has some good tackles, he has some good headers. I still think we'd be needing to look for somebody else to come into that back line, and if that means getting rid of Jullien and pulling somebody else in, I'm all for that. I don't know, is there anybody in Scotland right now that's playing in the Scottish League? Because we're running out of Scottish players that are eligible to play in the in the Euros and that, and so I'm wondering if there's somebody else that we can get that can fill in that spot and beside CCV.
I don't really know what we would do in that one, because at the moment I think Ange is definitely looking to shop in the markets that he knows more about than, as I say, looking at the Scottish Premier League. I don't think there's anybody really there that would come in and do his official. You got to, man. We're trying to be a Champions League team,
We're not going to improve.
No,
we're not going to improve as a club or as a team by shopping with players that cherry pick League Two in England for their talent. When somebody mentioned Welsh, I think we'd be better off with Raquel Welsh than Stephen Welsh. I thought he was awful at times today. Big Larwell, it was me who posted a video on the chat of the goal the other day there. And at first viewing, it didn't look that bad, but see when you saw his attempt to get back, it was an acceptance from the guy that he lost his man, and he was taking just lazy strides. And Gail pointed out to me that Jullien was warming up at the side of the park himself, and that tells you two things. It tells you either one, there's a total disconnect between him and the players behind the scenes, or two, he was doing it to let the fans know that he doesn't want to be there. And if any two of them are true, then it doesn't speak well for Jullien as a man or as a professional. Now, Jullien, for me, has had some great moments at Celtic, and he's probably got the ability to have some more great moments at Celtic. But it's just not going to happen for him, I don't think, for him. And what today for me showcased, and you touched on earlier on, what today showcased for me is this myth that we've got this fantastic squad of players that can step in. There's only two positions for me that I can say right now that I'm as comfortable from the first choice to the second choice, and that is Ralston or Juranovic, and Bain and Seagrist. And the reason why I don't say strikers is because I don't think there's going to be long periods in this season where Kyogo and Giakoumakis are fit at the same time. So that needs addressed. Our first game is in less than 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I expected by now for this club, with all the avenues are open, we know our budget, we know the players we need, we know when our season starts. So all last year's excuses are out the way. So for our team to be the Aberdeen match, for our team to be in July 31st, to be the same team that finished, the same start 11 that finished, is neglect. Now CCV, Carter Vickers, sorry, I hate calling him that. Carter Vickers and Jota, they're going to improve to a new level on a personal level. But that's great. That's great. I hope Taylor improves on a personal level. I hope Kyogo improves. That's expected. That doesn't mean you stand still because players are going to be improving. We need to, if our first 11, now let me make this clear for anybody who wants to get my opinion on this. If our first 11 is the exact same as our first 11 last season, we as a club have not strengthened.
Aye, I take that on board totally. So because there's a real chance that we could kick off on July 31st. And it's literally look at the team today. I think I said outside the stadium. I looked at the starting 11. I went, he could literally have fielded that starting 11 at any point last season. It was exactly the same. But yeah, I'm just reading through the comments just now, and Christopher Jullien is probably the most polarizing person in the Celtic Twitter sphere or the social media sphere just now, because yeah, there's a lot for him, a lot against him and stuff like that. My opinion is this: I think Jullien is a good defender, but it might not necessarily be a fit for Ange. Ange has just decided that you're no for me. And obviously that's going to demotivate a player, and it might be shown on the park stuff like that. But yeah, we'll try and steer clear of Christopher Jullien, so we create a controversial subject. But I did bring up. Yes,
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in because I'm one of his biggest critics. I'm one of his biggest critics. Okay, well, see, today he was sold. He was sold out on. He had a short pass from Gucci. Yep. Again, you guys that were at the game, you won't have seen it back. Gucci sold him a short one. The guy nipped in front of him, and he took him down. I'm not sure the rules changed that much, but again, in a league game, I'm not sure if that would have been a red or not, because the guy was probably clean through. I'm his biggest critic. I don't blame him for that goal, but again, I don't feel it's right if he gets the blame for that particular incident, because that wasn't him. But I've got a question for you then, Mark. You're talking about strengthening it there, and it looks from some of the names that are being bandied about that Ange is now focusing on this. I suppose using sort of the number six. Okay, so we go out and we get a first team ready number 6, and I think that's great. But if this guy comes in, this number 6, whoever it is, if it had been Vinicius Souza, you're looking at him as a starter. Kalmak is a definite starter. Does that mean we're going to go into games, everybody fit, with only one of Hatate, Turnbull, or O'Reilly on the park?
Yeah, well, that's a good point, mate. And I spoke about this to Boise, and these questions will come up. And I'm almost at the stage where I think to myself, that's the concern of the players who are out the team. And see if I think McGregor has moulded into a perfect number 8. Would you call him? Somebody who's kind of sitting in front of the
he's like a 7. He's like a 6.5.
Yes,
he's 7.5.
Yeah. It's almost like a hybrid of the two of them. But I think Carl McGregor's best moments on the park are when he's recycling the ball, he's spraying passes out left and right, almost he's supposed to the left, to be quite honest with you. But if Hatate, O'Reilly and Turnbull are fighting for the one jersey, that's probably a good thing for Celtic. And it doesn't actually mean that we can't play the two of them, because I think you can, in my opinion, you could play O'Reilly and Turnbull in the same team. You could play O'Reilly.
Longer term, McGregor can't keep playing 60 games a season. That's he can't end up with him retiring at 32. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you know something? I almost feel like that 2 weeks he got off and holiday that he mentioned was probably too much for him. I think the guy he's got to burn his cell out, and I think he's 28, 29, so he's a young man compared to, like, say, me and what he is, but he's hardly a spring chicken in football terms, you know what I mean? And I just feel like, and we're getting an emotional attachment to players as well. Like, if we bring in, let's just say for talk's sake, if we bring in a right winger, how to be fit in a badder, I couldn't care less. You know, that's a badder's problem. You know, and I feel like any players that we get in that are going to elevate us to the next level, it's up to the Celtic player who's got the jersey just now to step up to the mark. And I'm going to be really ruthless here, and it counts for everybody, for Henrik Larsson to Tosh McKinley and everything in between. See if somebody in a Celtic jersey is better than the guy next to him, and I don't care who they are. I'm ruthless. I want the best player on the park for Celtic, and if that means some players become unsettled and they have to go. And do you know something? I do keep reading. Terry's spot on about us trying to fill that position. For me, I think we could get away with that for a bit longer than we can get away when we're addressing the centre back position, because Starfelt has been criticised by me ad nauseum, but by God, we've missed him. Every ball in that box, we have missed him. And Carter Vickers, Big Bubba Shrimp, as I call him, he is only one man. As good as he is on the deck and in the air, he can't cover the full 6-yard box, and unfortunately for us, other than Starfelt and himself, we don't have much protection for Joe Hart, and even against poor opposition, the last couple of games hasn't been fantastic opposition. We have looked very vulnerable again with balls into the box, guys. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
I've seen a few comments coming up. I think Scott Cameron said it earlier. Is there any concern over the number of goals we've conceded? But again, we're scoring lots of goals, so it kind of masks over it a wee bit. But I've also kept this comment up on the screen because Egyptian King, mate, you're at it, man. That's an extreme. That's the most extreme Jullien take I've seen yet. And for the benefit of Mark, who I imagine, he says he'd rather have Malumbu in defence than Jullien. Remember Malumbu? Man. But Liam, I'll come over to you, mate. Just talk about a couple of the other new signings that did get some game time today. I thought big Benjamin Segrest, when he came on, pulled off some blinding saves. He made himself big, getting a few saves with his legs, stuff like akin to a Peter Schmeichel back in the day. Was very good at getting the legs out and so forth. I thought he was quite impressive when he came on. And what did you make of Bernabei when he came on as well? Because I've seen a mixed review so far on Twitter. Some people saying, he looks a bit rough around the edges, and other people are just like, no, he was amazing and stuff like that. So, and Terry did say earlier on, he thinks Taylor will start. So when it comes to Bernabei and Segrest, how do you think they're going to get on this season?
I thought Bernabei played all right when he came on. He had a couple of good adventures up the other end of the park, which was nice to see. I think he tried to get a couple of shots away outside the box. Unfortunately, one of them was blocked, and I think that turned into attack for them. That was only one negative. And then I thought Segrest played well. I thought when he came out to take out that boy where he extended his legs and his arms at the centre of the box, he did make himself big, and that's good. That's something we didn't see Barkas, and it's something you don't see Bain doing coming outside of the box. I always think Bain's better when he's on his line or just off his line, but to see Segrest come that far out and then make that sort of a challenge, I thought that he played that really, really well. That was it for the new boys, wasn't it? It was just basically. I thought, by the way, Abada had a great game today. I thought he absolutely roasted that Harry Pickering or whatever it was. I mean, he should have been sent off about 3 or 4 times the amount of times he bodied or tried to get him, tried to get Abada out of the way. And I think maybe it's because Bada's back with a girlfriend after the season. She's probably in the stands, and that looks like a guy that was turning it on for his girlfriend today, didn't it?
He looked really good, mate. And he was doing a wee touch quite a lot. He did it 3 or 4 times. He just took a wee touch to the left and then a touch forward, and he looked great. I thought Bernabei, he looked as raw as a teenage boy's right oakster, mate. You know what I mean? And I think hopefully I've explained that one politely, mate. I don't really know if that. Anyway, I think, but Taylor might elevate his game with him being behind him, and the same way Taylor might bring his game on, and I've got no doubt he's been brought on to be the first choice, but it might be a wee waiting game for him, which is okay by me. Taylor isn't a massive concern for me, to be honest with you. I think we could do better, absolutely, but it's not. I wouldn't be massively concerned. I think the mistakes he's going to make, it's the same mistakes that this boy's going to make, because we play such a high line, and I tell you something about the high line. As sure as night falls day, we are going to lose a 40-yarder with Joe Hart.
Look at Bannock Strava through the week. Off.
They tried it twice, mate. And actually, see Angie's team 2 years ago lost 2 goals in one match from their own half.
Oh no!
I think that's an important point, Mark, because I hear a lot of people saying Joe Hart is causing me sleepless nights. Joe Hart's doing this. Joe Hart's doing that. Joe Hart's doing what Joe Hart's told to do. This is a tactic from the manager. The manager knows the risks. The manager knows the risks. He knows the reward. He believes the rewards outweigh the risks. But it annoys me when I hear people giving Hart a hard time, because I'm pretty sure Joe Hart doesn't want to play like that. He's not wanted to play like that. That's why he lost his place in the Manchester City team, because that wasn't part of his armoury. This is an Ange tactic, and when we do get caught, that one's on the manager. That one's not on the goalkeeper. That one's on the manager.
Yeah, well, Barkas was doing it as well, mate, and Barkas just looked more isolated because it looked stick thin, you know. But it was like, I mean, if they're all doing it, we all know it's Ange's tactic. That's quite obvious. You're spot on there, Terry. I think, but I think a lot of fans are understanding that. They're thinking it's Joe Hart. Joe Hart is quite clearly a goalkeeper. He's not got any interest in sitting 40 yards out. In fact, if you asked him, he would say, "Look, I can do this or I don't play. It's as simple as that, and I want to play." I think if you won the match 2-0, 3-0 every week, and there was players in the system not doing what they're drilled to do, that guy would be out the team straight away. You know what I mean?
So, Mark, what do you think happened with the goal, the free kick, the one Siegrist let in? My feed was cutting in and out at that point. I didn't see a replay.
I think it was a wall, mate. I think the wall. I don't think the wall was set up properly. I'd probably have to ask Regan. He was right down the bottom, so he probably had a better view than me. But looked to me like the wall was used as some sort of shield for the goalkeeper, but it actually turned into an easy placement for the striker. I think it was the striker just to place it in the bottom corner.
Yeah.
I don't think Siegrist. The wall for me wasn't set up properly. Whether that was Siegrist or whether that was tactics, but it just looked so simple, and Siegrist was just caught out. But when Phil mentioned Schmeichel there, I said the exact same thing. But he just spread himself, so well, and that's who it reminded me of, is Schmeichel, and he just looked. And it gets down very quick. I don't know if any of you guys noticed that, but Liam, I would say the free kick goal was, for me, it was the position in the wall, and I think they used it very cleverly.
Definitely. I've left this comment up because, as we always say on the Boys Special, we like to be in the know, but also like to be in the log. And our very own Russell has put this one up saying, Ange has just said, so this came directly from Ange himself. He said that he expects two new sides in 7 days. So, guys, let the excitement commence. Here we go. Ange has said it. This is not a Fabrizio Romano tweet that's going to go wrong. The man himself has said that he expects 2 new signings within the next 7 days. So I'm going to go through it and see if we've got any follow-up on that. So that
means it'll happen.
So is that Russell giving his opinion on it, one CB and one CDM, or is that just has that been confirmed? That's what he's looking at?
I don't think he'd be as specific as that, would he? I don't think he would come out and be as specific as that, would he? Well, I could be wrong.
He would just come out and say 2 sides. But yeah, there's definitely speaking of the transfer stuff, we also had the one through the week that came out of nowhere that was Edouard Michu, that instantly the club were like, nah, we don't interest him at all. Got to say, I was a little bit disappointed in Fabrizio Romano because everyone's hanging on his every word, and I know he didn't break the story technically, but if you're a guy that's in that position, what's that?
Sorry to interrupt you there. I apologise, mate. No, I think he really endorsed that.
Aye, because people will say on Twitter, a retweet doesn't equal endorsement, and I'm like, but see, when you're like him, that journalist, your whole thing is posting transfer rumours and stuff like that, stories about transfers, it's like, even if it's your story originally, you should really fully source it. So it kind of backfired on him, that one. So now I'm kind of every time I see his tweets now, I'm like, is it really Fabrizio? Is it
Hooperman Brian, is that how it was? Remember him?
Oh, I remember that. Aye, that one. Oh, he had a real cult following.
He was. I had a few Barneys with him, which I'm not surprised. But there used to be a player. It'd be like pre-season, and every team's looking at a player, and he'd post like an aeroplane, a football, and a Celtic badge. And we'd sign Scott Bain, and he'd be like, "See, I told you." And folk would be like, "Oh, bravo! I don't know how you get these right." And I'm like, "Are you fucking for real, man? This guy is just posting for his granny's loft, just talking utter shite, and you're all just buying it." And it found out. In fact, the reason why he stopped, actually, if you remember back, when Eddie Howe. The real collapse with Eddie Howe, it was about tea time before it became absolutely apparent, but there was actually podcasts getting contacted at midday.
Yeah.
And he was posting at 5:05 a picture of Ronaldo going like this, like, calm, everything's like, people were asking him, like, is this deal off? He's like, listen, it's in the bag, I know everything, how the deal's fine. So I was the first one to message him saying, well, if podcasts are finding it at midday and you're saying at the back of 5 that everything's fine and the game was a bogey, then your sources are just basically, I don't know, the wee spider in the granny's loft.
Hi, he's
just talked shite.
Yeah, I remember that whole play. I remember the Ronaldo thing as well. Calm down, but yeah, that was it went up good in the end of what we got. We get Ange Postecoglou in, but that's another story.
That was the best. That was the best thing that happened. If it's not
That
David
was.
Logue, and it's still worth listening to.
Exactly in the log. But that's interesting if Ange has actually said that he expects 2 new players in the next 7 days. So fingers crossed that does happen, because, yeah, as I said, there was glaring issues today. But again, we've got to caveat it with there's not going to be an instance where we're going to have to make 11 substitutions in a game. It was literally to give everyone a run out, but it does kind of open up your eyes where a few injuries here and there. You might have to be returning to guys like Mikey Johnson and that coming off the bench, and see, I just don't feel that Johnson brings much at all. He's one of the many that are just like, I don't know what to do with him, but hopefully we see some new ones. Now, Terry, before we came on, you wanted to bring up a point regarding this propaganda that the club like to promote when a game's coming up about it's sold out and so forth like that, the rhetoric that they put out there. The game on Saturday is a sellout. Well, me and Mark were there today, and obviously you guys watched it on the TV. Certainly wasn't no sellout from what I saw. So you came up with, or you'd seen ideas about things that Celtic can do in order to make sure that these tickets can actually get used and these seats can be filled. So, yeah, I'll hand over to you, mate, because you were saying before we came on air, just like running it past us. So, yeah, if you want to.
I just obviously today's was publicised as being a sellout. The Norwich game's a sellout. The Aberdeen game's a sellout. I've no doubt the Aberdeen game probably will be a sellout. But I'd asked you guys, obviously I was watching on the TV. It looked quite sparse. What do you reckon, 30,000?
If you're lucky, yeah. I mean, Blackburn got a hell of a contingent with them, by the way.
Ask Connor, he might have a better gauge on.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's really good at the old mathematics.
Connor. I was doodling myself. I was doodling, and I sort of wrote down 35, 40, but you guys have kind of said it 30 would have been tops. So yeah. It's kind of a wee bit embarrassing when the sold out signs are up and the stadium's actually only half full. Now, I get it, pre-season friendly, all the rest, yeah. But even in the league games, I reckon there's probably 5,000, maybe 7,500, even sometimes 8,000, 9,000 seats that are sitting empty. Mm-hmm. And I had read an article this week around where the club had given some thought to some kind of scheme where season ticket holders can then pass their ticket on for games that they're not going to, and that can go to someone who then wants to go to the game. And the club, I think, obviously I don't have any inside knowledge on it, but I think the club had looked at it, but at the moment it's not something that they were interested in doing. But I do know that it's been done in some clubs in the EPL and some of the bigger clubs across Europe. And my only sort of thoughts on it were, from a Celtic perspective, if we sold the season tickets, then we've got the money in. But is there an opportunity sitting there to sell the same season ticket a second time and bring in additional revenue? So even if we work on if we completely lowball it and there's 5,000 tickets, season tickets not being used at home league games, and there's I suppose an app or some kind of web app, some kind of web application where season ticket holders can say, right, do you know what? I'm not going this week. You put your ticket up for sale. The ticket gets sold on to someone who does want to go and fill that seat for the match. The person who's got the season ticket gets some kind of kickback. The club also get a percentage, and someone else gets to fill that seat and go to the game. It just feels like a win-win opportunity for everybody, that you've got the stadium sold out, you've got someone getting to a game who wouldn't have been able to get to a game, you've got the club making a percentage on that seat that they've already sold, and you've got the season ticket holder having the opportunity to get some of their money back that they've spent, or they can maybe tick a box to say, I'm happy for the club to keep that. So I'm just kind of thinking, if you really lowball it on 5,000 and you maybe work on the premise that you could flog that ticket for 30 quid, you're talking 100 grand, over 100 grand for just setting up a web application to enable that to happen. I think it kind of happens underground a wee bit. There's other third-party applications where things like this go on, but I just sort of was thinking, is it something the club could pick up and run with? And I mean, if you look at the Paradise Windfall, what's the club making on that? It's
Oh,
you know, is it $100,000 a game? You know, you can make $100,000 from reselling season tickets that you've already sold just by setting up an app or something. So I just as I said to you guys, I kind of was interested because the for sale sign was up. The Aberdeen game, yeah, do you know what? Flag Day, I think the stadium will be full.
yeah.
But for most of the other home games, bar the Ranger games, you're probably talking 5,000 seats sitting
Easily.
empty. And I think it's
Yeah.
just a gap that the club should look at.
Of course
Definitely,
it
man.
is.
Aye,
Of
when
course
the,
it is. I
the,
think there
the
is teams that do it.
Aye, when you get the midweek games against Ross County in December at Celtic Park and stuff like that, oh yeah, there was a game a few years ago we played against Hamilton Accies where Scott Brown scored like the last minute goal, and it was absolute scenes. But the unfortunate thing was most of the stadium was empty because Hamilton Accies on a Wednesday night in December.
They're the ones that spring to mind. The midweek games at home against lower league opposition, because although those guys from Ireland do go to every single home game and do go to every single away game, there's lots of the supporters clubs over here that won't go to the midweek league game against lower league opposition, because essentially it means 2 days off work. You've got the day off work when you're going to the game, and you need the day off after because you're not getting home to 3 or 4 in the morning. And it just seems like an easy opportunity just to make a few extra quid.
I mean, they could keep the full money and make it redeemable on next year's season ticket. They could maybe they could be an opt-in and opt-out process, like as you said about the. I mean, it's like selling old rope. The ticket's already sold. I mean, see if it was as much as £5 comes off your next year's season ticket, you would do it. You would say, "Oh, listen, I'm not going." And the majority of times, if I don't go, one of my brothers will go. But I've seen like the guy who sits next to me, Alec. He's got 2 books, and his sons sometimes can't go, and they just lie there empty. And I think to myself, well, absolutely, you could be selling that. You know what I mean? And because I want to sell my season ticket, my card to anybody because I never got it back. And I know there's a way you can just cancel it and pay £15 or whatever, but it's a trust thing. You don't sell tickets to anybody you don't know, and I just think it's an open goal for the club, and there must be a reason why we don't do it. I mean, I think Terry touched on the half-time draw there. I think we probably only make about £2,000 or £3,000 out of that a game, Terry. I think we probably sell about 6,000-7,000 tickets if you're lucky at £2,000, but it's still a lot of money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because the jackpot's like 10 grand. I think they give away every match. But regardless of that, I feel like the club should be looking at avenues. We spoke about it a few weeks ago about the no alcohol in the stadium, and that's an open goal as well. That should be challenged, and I feel as if the club's backbone on some things is quite, you know. And I think this one with maybe there's is there a rights issue? Can they not sell your seat? Is maybe that? Is it a legal
other clubs are doing it, Mark?
Yeah,
so
they are doing it.
There's always going to be red tape, but you find a way around it. Do you know what I mean?
I told Terry, you're spot on, mate. And if the club haven't asked this question amongst themselves, then they must be doing something wrong, mate. Because surely it's just a case of getting into an app and just saying, "I can't make it. I give you permission to sell my ticket and just do what you want." The same way they would do if you can't buy a ticket for a league cup match, they would just sell your seat. So it's like
an Airbnb. I'm away for a week. If somebody wants to pay me money to come and stay in my house for a week, maybe sort of all out. The app does it all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'll bring in Liam on this one because obviously he's over on the other side of the pond, as they say, over in Canada. So a lot of sports out in Canada and North America, the USA. Do any of the sports out there have like a similar sort of ticket exchange system? Is this something an idea that Celtic can look at to bring in at all, or?
No, basically once you get your season ticket, that's it.
Okay,
season tickets work really well in hockey. That stuff here in the football, you don't see it as much. The season tickets for the Whitecaps, but I had season tickets for their ones against which is like a derby game against Seattle. And I remember showing up for my season ticket the first time, and everybody around me was all Seattle fans because I brought my mate from Seattle. He says, "You think it's all right if I wear my Seattle jersey?" I'm like, "I'd fire in, but you'll be fine. You know me," sort of thing. Went there. Everybody around me was wearing Seattle jerseys. I was the only one that was a Whitecap supporter at the time. And now our season tickets here is it's pretty much people just give them trading with each other and that. There's nothing involved like an app or anything where you can physically resell it. And I think, as Terry might have said, it might be a rights issue or something like that, for it to be, the value and remain a season ticket. And by the way, our club, we just figured out we're the most Western club, Celtic supporters club on the planet. We're the farthest hemisphere. Because Victoria just shut in. So Vancouver Shamrock, shout out.
Vancouver Shamrock. I find it interesting, by the way, that a minute ago we were talking about transfer rumours, and David Logue has just appeared out of nowhere. Our mustachioed maverick here on the bus has just turned up. David, are you coming in to give us any news that you might have heard, or are you just coming on because you might just join in the chat?
I've just been listening to you guys on the journey home. There was a fair bit of traffic on the M8. The road was closed, so I've been enjoying listening to you on the way back. And I just got in and checked my Twitter, and I found this wee link. So I thought I'd pop on. I'm like that sub that's come on at the end of the game just to run the clock down. So
substitution for the voicey boss. On is coming, David Logue.
I've been doing my casual warm up by myself in the corner. I don't really want to be here, but how you all did it? Did you enjoy the game when you were there, lads? Yes.
It was good. It was good, man. Just to get back to Celtic Park, I felt it was a good competitive game.
It was a good, entertaining game. Yeah, that's what I thought. It was a good, entertaining game. I was quite impressed with the Blackburn fans.
Oh, wait, you're being called a Soonest here on the chat by Red Scotland, mate.
Oh dear.
No.
I really want Ukraine to win the game. I really want Ukraine to win the game. But I was quite impressed with the Blackburn fans today. They were right up for it as well. The injury, it's a wee bit sore, but we're all right. We're doing okay. I really hope that's nothing too serious, though. I was a bit concerned when I seen Narigidi coming on. I thought Ralston was able to run it off. But
what happened? I missed the last few minutes. I had to go and try.
Ralston went off with a wee knock.
He took a sore one to the ankle. You knew right away it was a sore one because he didn't get right back up. He's the kind of guy that's
was an actual. Was he? Is he?
No, he'd be fine.
He tried to walk it off, and I think they just precaution. They just took him off just to be safe.
Thank God for that.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm doing fine, Mark. Don't worry, I'll be all right for the start of the season.
That's all right then. Guys, will start the season first and then for him.
Mate.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Mate. That's what matters, mate.
But no, overall, I felt it was a good exercise for the boys. It was a good competitive game, I felt, for a friendly, and I imagine we'll get a similar sort of reception on Wednesday night with Legia Warsaw and this Artur Boric friendly testimonial charity match, whatever it's going to be. Because I'd imagine there's still a wee bit of bad blood between Legia Warsaw and Celtic.
They must hate us. They must. Don't forget, it was aimed at UEFA, but they put a big banner of pigs out. Rubbing their hands in money. No, I don't know what made them think that UEFA give a shit about Celtic, but they must have had their own brains thought that Celtic were this big cash cow or this cash pig that UEFA wanted to cash in on. There was nothing of the sort. The guys broke rules. It was an admin error or whatever I call it. It was tedious, but you broke the rules. We didn't, and thanks very much.
Was that when they brought in an ineligible player within the last 2 minutes of the game?
The last kick of the ball. I remember there was a video with there was a woman with blonde hair that held up the banner, the numbers,
Yep.
And I see a picture. It was Craig White with a wig on.
we should just bring some random person on with 2 minutes to go on Wednesday night just to
just for me.
Bring on me. I'm dying for a game for Celtic. 2 minutes is all I want. Honestly, and I would run out there and do something. I'd have the best 2 minutes you've ever seen in your life, unless you ask my wife.
But no, it's interesting that this pre-season we played Rapid Vienna, we played Legia Warsaw. We should have got a friendly with FCC on just to complete the trifecta of teams we've got a bit of a sketchy past with, because they were another team that were
and Rangers almost as well. Almost Rangers as well.
Almost.
So this is like maybe like Hitler saying, bring back the war, bring it all back. Bring back the attention.
It was, but no, I'm expecting a tough game on Wednesday. Another stern test for the boys. But yeah, David, seeing you've only just came on for the last few minutes. We'll try and get as much opinion out of you as we can. So overall, I'll try and find through as much of it as possible. We went over. So, what did you make of the slow start? You know, we stuck to the system and so forth. Were you quite encouraged by the fact that even though we shipped out a couple of goals, we just kept doing what we're doing and got a decent result in the end? So again, it's all about the getting fitness in the legs and so forth. So I felt overall it was a decent workout today.
It did exactly what it said in the tin. It was a decent workout. I hadn't even got into my seat before we were 1-0 down, but there was no real panic. You know, even if it was a competitive game, I don't think there's been too much panic. You know, 24 seconds in, we're down 1-0. First thing I said to the missus was, "That's all right, we'll score. Like, it'll be fine." And of course, we just stuck to the system. And I felt, and you said it. Well, and I was listening to in the car, that we're not going to be in a situation where we're making that amount of changes in the game. I feel like if that was a real competitive game, or at least going by competitive rules of how many changes you're allowed to make throughout the game, I didn't think we were in any real danger of losing that game. You know, once you've seen a lot of the sort of the B, C side players coming on, obviously we took the foot off the throat a little bit, and Blackburn managed to get back into it. You know, we really did control most of the game. You know, you could tell that we had them worried. Hence, a lot of the dirty tactics that were being. You know, the ref pulled a lot more cards than I was expecting to see today.
Aye, definitely.
And that spoke volumes for me that we had them worried. You know, I think when an English side come up to Scotland, there's maybe a little bit of arrogance that they'll probably walk over us. And when that wasn't really, you know, and obviously when they go 1-0 up after 24 seconds, they're probably thinking, this is exactly what we thought would happen. And the Blackburn fans obviously thought that was going to happen. And then when we start really putting on the style, flicking balls over guys' heads for a laugh and things, and you know, we really looked like every time we went forward, we looked a threat. And then when they're dragging our players down, kicking our players when they're already down, you know, there's a couple of nasty niggles going on. It spoke volumes to me that we had them worried. But once Anne started making a lot of the main guys started to come off to get rested for Wednesday and next weekend, we started to see a bit of it is not concerning, but you can't help but kind of raise a wee eyebrow at the like you. I think it was you that said it, Terry. Like once you start to see there is a wee bit of a gap in quality than we originally thought. I think when you start to see the second choice, third choice players getting a run out.
Bloody Brown Warrior says, and they wonder Clancy writes fiction novels because his officiating's a fucking mystery to me. Yeah, there was a point where I was like, has he even brought the cards with him? It was like that bit in Train Spotting when, you know, Begbie's did you bring the cards? Do you remember bring the fucking cards? Sorry, Franco, I forgot them. That's what it felt like, honestly. Like, where's the cards?
The thing is, but Phil, the thing is, it doesn't give you poetic license as a referee to make up new rules because it's a friendly match. If a foul is a foul, it's a foul.
Aye.
If it's a bad foul, you speak to him. If it wants a yellow card, you give a yellow card. I don't know what this unwritten rule is, where a gentleman's rule where you can get away with red cards because it's a friendly match. People have paid money to go and see this. There's people's careers can be ended during a friendly match. I mean, your leg's broke. As I said earlier on, I mean, your studs are made of chocolate because it's a friendly match. I mean, these people are out there on the park. They can get a bad injury, and referees have got to give players of both teams protection.
Yep.
And it's a bit of a joke and as a laugh how bad his performance was, but in particular the day I thought the English team that came up were really want to put their authority over the match. They couldn't do it on the park, their ability, so they thought they would just do it physically. And when they ran out of ideas eventually, and they just started hitting folk.
They did. Well,
I think we started to see our players bite back a little as the game went on as well. It was Callum McGregor had a few words with the players. There was a couple of handbags there, shoves, and then Kyogo likes to leave his mark on a player or two for being the nicey striker that we have up front. He does leave a mark or two on the opposition defenders at times, and they were getting a little frustrated with him as well. Maybe hence why he was getting dragged to the ground at times.
There was one what Mark's talking about where the referee just seemed to just let it go because it was a friendly. Early on in the game, there's what Joe Hart tried to start a quick counter attack. The Blackburn player stood in front of him and put his hand up and blocked it with his hand. That's a deliberate handball. That's a yellow card. In any other circumstance, no, just to be talking to because it's just a friendly. And it's like, mate, that's a booking. I don't care if it's a friendly. He stopped Joe Hart with his hand, which you're not meant to use. And it's like, come on, man. So Mark's totally right there. Clancy today was just like, it's a friendly. I've just let it go. What if a player does get severely injured? We talked about earlier on about the Caramel Dembele one last year, and that happened in a friendly against Bristol. I want to say it was at that training camp we were playing in Wales, and it's like just because it's a friendly doesn't mean you just let the rules just suddenly get thrown out the window. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's it. You look at carte blanche just to come in and play the football in the game any way you want. You've got to just stick by. If the rules is the rules, as they say, then why on earth is the referee to decide when and where rules can be displayed? You know, I mean, if a player scores a goal and it's offside, mate. Whether it's the Champions League final or whether it's a League Cup match, you know, listen, I'm not going to lose sleep over a friendly match, but see if Kyogo get an injury today, I would lose sleep tonight thinking about the first game of the season. And I don't know. I think if you ever want to see managers put out a team of young boys, then that's the way to do it. Because they're not going to be risking their guys on 20-30 grand a week. They're game changers, they're match winners, they're guys who are going to keep them in jobs. They're not going to risk that by playing them against some opposition that's going to try and kick them up in the air every 5 minutes. And I think the referees, they're normally from the country that the home team plays in, but they're still probably earning the same amount of money. They're probably still getting £1,000 a match. You know what I mean? They're not going there for the sake of it, you know. And just play the fucking game the way we pay you, and the way every paying punter who's going to watch that expects to see. This isn't doing the pitch. This is a game of football. Professional players in a stadium where it can get volatile, etc., etc., etc. It should be refereed in a fitting manner, whether it's Stranraer in the League Cup or Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Go back to what we said earlier, Mark. Certainly through last season, when you think of some of those tackles in games, I'm thinking, I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm thinking there was probably one Dundee United, Motherwell, Ross County. There was incidents in those games. It sometimes feels like Celtic players are fair game. Yeah, do you know what? Just go in and do what you want. You know, the normal rules don't apply. It's all right.
Aye. Andy Halliday set the tone with that tackle on McGregor. McGregor had two nasty ones right off the beginning, and then Ralston was hit an awful lot of times as well. You know, him going off today, I mean, the amount of times he gets hit and he doesn't go off, you know, you could tell he must have been hurting today. It was a tackle or the one he went off that hurt him.
That's a worry.
I feel there's a vibe that it's almost Celtic's own fault. You know, if you're going to play that way of football, then you're asking for it. That's the kind of feeling that you get.
Do you remember when Rangers were in the first division, and the guy called Bigaramana or something like that? They did a wee tricky winger for Newcastle, and there was this campaign by all the Rangers media and all their wee pals in the media that how we need to protect the flair players that are playing in the leagues because how is Scottish football are going to progress. But it's fair game for Jota to be punted up in the air, Kyogo to be punted up in the air. This isn't happening in friendly matches. This is happening all over the camp. I mean, Lindstrom's display and Bobby Madden's cheerio to the Celtic fans match at Hampden was an absolute fucking disgrace. The guy had 459,600 tackles and get fucking booked once. And I'm not exaggerating there, mate. Honestly, Connor McCann told me the numbers, and I trust him.
I trust Connor, mate.
If he tells me your number, and it's a fact, mate. You know what I mean. And apart from that, I mean, I was more concentrating on winding up with Connor there. I forgot my point. But anyway, refs are shite, but that's still what matters.
Refs are shite. That's basically the point. As it goes, as the saying always goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. We've had a different lineup, a different host today, post-match pitch, but we're still talking about the poor standard of the referees. They're friendly, but that's what's coming. They're starting already. We're not even at the competitive stuff yet, and so we've still got VAR and all that to come in December. But anyway, gents, we've went for an hour and 10 minutes, but I feel like we've pulled quite a good show out of that one there, because we've managed to break down that Blackburn game really well. So what I'll do is we'll call it on that one. So I'll just remind the viewers again, just remember about liking, comment, share, subscribe, all that other good stuff as well. It helps the channel massively. Also, again, July 31st, the Bullfrog in Motherwell, 8 p.m. start. Be there after Flag Day, Boise Bus live. It's going to be tremendous.
Phil, what's happening on the bus tomorrow, Phil?
Tomorrow on the bus, we have got a double helping. There's going to be 2 shows in the Boise Bus. We have got the Sunday Blarer with Regan and Mark, and another, I'd imagine. So, Mark, do you know who the third person is going to be yet? Or
I don't know. Dale did mention coming on the bus, but I think he's working tomorrow. I know David Logie Hughes had mentioned next week, but I'll need to check with Regan. But just now, I think it's just me and him. But the chat's open for anybody who wants to come on. It's actually getting quite a popular show. Good chat on that. If anybody wants to come on, they can
without a doubt
and listen to me talk shite.
You don't, mate. You don't talk shite. We love your opinions on the bus, mate. You don't shy away from it, and you've always backed your voice up, and that's what we love. We met Regan as well today as well. Top lad, Regan knows his stuff. Great Regan. So definitely come on that show. Definitely come on if you've got the chance, boys. And also tomorrow we have got My Celtic Story hosted by Dale, and it'll be me. I'm all over the show this week. You can't get rid of me.
No days off, Phil McGinley.
What's that?
No days off, Phil McGinley.
No days off, mate. I know.
Callum McGregor hasn't got anything on you, mate.
I'll need to get a mask or something like that as well. But yeah, so that's coming up tomorrow. Then Monday, normal service will be resumed, where it'll be the Monday Club, or it might be Monday Club or a Tuesday, who knows. But anyway, the plan is for Russell and Jonathan to be back on, and then we're heading towards our 7 days a week schedule in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be exciting stuff. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up everything for this one. So guys, is there anything else you want to say before we head, or are we good to go?
I'm all good.
All good here in my wee world.
No worries.
Okay, just looking forward to find out who these 2 players are over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Refreshing on the internet.
David, mate, get on your sources, mate. We need to know. Not that bit in Still Game. Isa's like, people have to know. We have to know, mate. We've got to know.
I'm going for another Argentinian. I'm still adamant we'll get another Argentinian.
You said that there.
I think you might be right.
Is it LM?
We'll wait and see. We'll have a good time with PSG. Might be available. But anyway, folks, we shall wrap up there. So thank everyone for tuning in. It's been a good debut. I think I've coped all right with it, but yeah, I was quite stressed before we came on, because I swear to God, the audio problems we were having were unbelievable. I was like, "Oh, this could happen to me." Like, why?
No,
or Connor.
What a laugh. But anyway, thank you everybody, and we're out of here. So that's us. So we shall be back on tomorrow. Say Regan and Mark and another will be on for the Sunday Blarer. So make sure you catch that. So thanks everybody, and hail hail.
Comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.